you know. Alright, hi everyone. I obviously was not anticipating to stream today. I think, we all know what we're here for. So, let's just get into it. I will move my camera. So, for anybody who's not aware, essentially, I'm about to throw up. No, me. Yeah, so essentially, where do I even start? So, there was a lot of stuff that happened within OTV a few months ago. A sort of falling out. Fed left, and yeah. And yesterday there was a document that was leaked where Fed wrote up a bunch of stuff and vented and blah blah blah. So essentially, I'm just going to go through it, respond to it, because obviously it's very much like his side of things, and I would like to give my side of things. I think that's about it. Everything else will be kind of self-explanatory as we go through. I named my response Yep Clock. I just accidentally showed that. Anyways. Oh, yes. Fed did tweet. We spoke. And I don't know if you guys want me to read that now or later or whatever, but I'm pretty sure essentially it's... Well, I guess we could read it now. Hold on. Yeah, so he said, hey guys, it's been brought to my attention that a document I wrote many months ago has been leaked. I want to make it clear that this is not something I wanted out publicly. The document was leaked by someone I had asked for advice and support who chose to maliciously violate my trust. A while ago, Poki and I spoke about what happened. We came to agree that keeping things private and making no further statements publicly was what was best for both of us. To keep the document private, we wanted to heal and prevent any further harm to the people involved. She would make a brief supportive statement when I returned, and we would go our separate ways. No more drama and not reopening old wounds. Sorry, I sound like a YouTube vlogger talking so damn fast. We were both happy with this agreement and the peace of mind that came with it, but one of the people I had turned to for advice and support when I needed it the most violated my trust, sending the document to streamers. I just want to apologize, as I do feel responsible for such extremely sensitive and private conversations to be aired out like dirty laundry. When I wrote this statement months ago, I was encouraged by my friends to write out my side of things. However, I did it while feeling extremely vindictive, as I felt that someone that I once deeply cared for inaccurately spoke out against me. To this day, I do believe that I was mischaracterized. However, after talking to Poki, I came to understand her perspective and decision making. My outlook on the situation as a whole now comes from a better place of understanding. Also, yeah, let me mute alerts. I'm sorry, I feel a bit of a I feel like I need to put chat in sub mode just to keep it civil whatsoever. However, I do want to make sure that I don't ever need to fucking do this ever again. So I will have brief breaks where I take it off sub mode and you guys can let me know if you have any questions or clarifications that are needed. My outlook on the situation as a whole now comes from a better place of understanding. Additionally, after hearing her side about Yvonne almost being fired, it was made clear to me that the point of her bringing that up wasn't to allude to the false claim I wanted her fired, but more so to highlight the fact that her lack of motivation to work with me stemmed from her feeling uncomfortable because of our incident, which again, as I said in the document, I'm deeply sorry for and wish I wasn't so naive and insensitive. On the topic of whether I tried to manipulate our friends to hate her, I still fully stand behind what my document reads, but want to further emphasize that although it wasn't my intention to shine Poki in a bad light when I'd vent/confide to our friends about my frustrations, the side effect was that many of our friends perceived her differently and in turn avoided pursuing friendships with her. They then admitted this to her after the intervention, so I now better understand why she felt manipulated. I know a lot of details surrounding the nature of our friendship were shown, but I'd like to first prevent any further speculation by saying we were never intimate or in a relationship. Poki and I are very close and often flirty, but that was the extent of it. I know the way things unfold in the document, it seems like I'm alluding to her leading me on, but I don't believe that and think that the truth is somewhere in between. We both made mistakes and have owned up to them privately. I hope everyone reading will try to move on from all this, as we certainly have already. Please respect our privacy and avoid further sharing or discussing this leak, as it's a gross invasion of privacy and I regret that it was made public. So, yeah, we're gonna kind of go through it one by one. Okay, now I actually muted alerts. So, I'll just get into it, and if there's anything I need to say, then we'll get around to it. So he just starts off saying, "Hey guys, what? I know it's really long. So can I just ask, from your guys' perspective, do you care more about the specific points, or is it easier to literally go through the whole thing?" Okay, I'm gonna try to focus, like, I'm not gonna skip over anything unless it is completely not pertaining to me. And I will try to focus on, the actual points. So, hey guys, it's been a while. It's been about 2 months now. I want to start off with this, actually. Not really pertaining, but I want to say, I've seen this document. I've seen 3 versions of this document already. Because as you can tell, it was made months ago. It has not been 2 months since the incident. So it's been sent to a few friends of mine. I received it, and me and Fed spoke about it a while ago. Sorry, I have the stuff that I want to share on the side here. So if you see me look to the side, that's what it is, just so I don't miss anything. It was actually the first, when I confronted him about finding out about this document, it was the first time that we've spoken since everything unfolded. And it wasn't easy, but we came to a decent understanding of each other, and wanting to handle it privately, which is why it's so unfortunate that this was leaked anyways. Very unfortunate. So yeah, I'm gonna try to go through the parts specific to me. I think this is all mainly just like stuff about him, so I'm gonna skip over this. And he says that basically the purpose is that when he saw my stream where I talked about him, he feels like it painted him in a very negative light. He says, "I definitely did some questionable things and broke her trust, but there are some claims she makes about me, Yvonne and I, just friends, and herself, that are either false, twisting the truth, or misconstrued." I understand from his perspective it seems like that, but obviously I feel like I also spoke my truth. At the end of the day, there's 2 sides to every story, so I'm going to be addressing these claims as well as giving context to mostly everything that was mentioned on our stream, since I feel that is very important and personal to me. Oh, this is so long. This Foki thing all started as a joke when I made a picture. Poki has my phone background, obviously. So he's basically saying there was a Taiwan trip, February 14th, 2018, Valentine's Day, woo. Almost 3 years ago now. And that was the first time that, me and Fed had, flirted or gotten close, or essentially it was when we first started getting close. You guys fucking eating popcorn? Fuck you guys. This is my real life. A lot of good moments came from that trip. It felt like the honeymoon phase of getting to know someone, and that's what it was. This was the first time we talked and looked at each other differently. We discussed a blah, 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 blah. By the way, if I blah, blah anything you guys find as important, please let me know. It's just things that I feel like don't have much to say about. We came back from Taiwan and kept being close, started hanging out a lot, talking a lot, blah, blah, blah. It was pretty obvious to our friends and roommates something was going on, but no one really asked about it. Just details about us hanging out, watching stuff together. We did get very close, that's true. And oh my gosh. Insert very cringy text messages that have no place on the internet, but yeah, I mean, essentially, me and Fed had just gotten really close, although we obviously weren't like dating, we were like talking, you know? And we lived together. It's like, yeah, we were able to hang out a lot and we worked together, so yeah, we became close. In March 2018, we had an honest discussion about the direction we were heading, and she brought up some notable problems. A, that we live together and could be a problem if things don't work out, and B, we are board members / own equity of the company that we work for. This could be a conflict of interest and could get nasty if things didn't work out between us. So I am very much of that mindset where it's like, if there are so many conflicts in regards to me pursuing something with someone, I am highly unlikely to do it unless I felt like, wow, like this is the person for me. Sorry, I need to let my cat in. Yep, come on in. You can enjoy the show too. I'm so sorry if you guys hear that sound. Skipping the pictures? Oh, I'm sorry. They're really just cringe. You know? It's like, Fetty, Weddy. Or like, you look cute. Oh, you made me blush. Like, it's really just cringe. But yeah, definitely, this was like the first time we got to know each other, and therefore like kind of the flirtiest time in my opinion. But then I was like, we can't really do this unless, again, I feel like this is something we seriously want to pursue. April / May 2018, pretty much the same as March, except she was traveling a lot. We texted and FaceTimed, and we'd call each other cute stuff. Like, we're obviously acting coupley here, whenever we're apart. We FaceTime. I super felt like we were disregarding the conversation we had in March and kind of just going with the flow. Obviously, I'm excited about this because by this time, I liked her enough that I wanted to try to be serious / exclusive. And more, do you miss me? You're cute, blah, blah, blah. Upcoming are some parts that are, well, yeah. So EDC 2018 comes around, a music festival in May, and he was roommates with someone. Of course, it was pretty obvious to him that I was texting Poki, and I actually remember this, that we were texting, and I think just like alluding to our manager and Josh that we were talking. And he goes on to say, like, I'm a really private person and that he shouldn't have alluded to someone that we were talking. But actually, in this instance, we really, like, this was the first time that we started talking, and we were starting to talk pretty seriously. And I was like, I need to figure out whether this is something that I want to pursue and risk the conflict of interest or just something I'm not interested in. So I actually don't really care about this at all. Where he's like, I shouldn't have overshared. This was not my issue at this point in time. We FaceTimed in the morning. I don't even remember any of this, to be honest. She called me out on using language like that in front of people, which is true. Like, I don't really want to act coupley until I make that decision to be coupley. And again, I was still, like, trying to figure it out. I feel like I need to understand the boy scene a little bit more. I mean, you know, I was, like, 20, 21, in LA, single, freshly in LA, whatever the heck, right? I wanted to be sure of whoever I was going to pursue. And also for Fed, as I said here, also he should date around because, like, I also didn't like the online pressure of people shipping us, and I don't like the idea of, like, falling into it just because there's pressure. I think it is much healthier to like, get a good lay of the land and pursue someone because you genuinely like them, not just because there's, like, internet attention around your names. For me then, this came out of left field and I felt pretty stupid. I was hurt, blah, blah. I do remember having this conversation and I was investing so much time. I was trying to be understanding, but it brought up a lot of insecurities and notions of not being good enough. And for me, it was like, I just need to figure out whether I, like, actually like someone or not. For both of us, emotions always made things so complicated. I wish I was better at navigating them earlier. After taking time to understand her concerns, I came around to her unease. She wanted to be sure of her feelings and not just there because we're accessible to each other. That too. I was like, we're like really, like, we're physically really close, and that makes you feel like maybe someone's like the right person, but anyways. Oh my god, this is so cringe because, like, I'm not like massively older and massively more mature, but I really was that. I was like, don't like call me pet names unless we're dating. Because I feel like it's just a line I draw, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, whatever. Yeah, I was like, I want to be very private until we make the jump, then I don't care, because that's just how it be with me. But at the same time, like, it was difficult to navigate because obviously he was someone I cared about and I didn't want to hurt his feelings in any way. And also someone I lived with and also someone I worked with. So again, a fragile connection in a sense. By now you can see there's a cycle of talking again, and then, oh wait, there's a problem. This cycle continued throughout the years, and every time it didn't work out, I think I also parted myself. More and more I started to realize maybe I'm not good enough. The things the cycle did to me were fucked. I became more and more frustrated. I started to become jealous, insecure at times. I would act out sometimes, lock myself in my room all day and stream Pokemon for the entire day to avoid her. I would go over to just friends, another streamer house, and vent about my frustrations. So I'd like to elaborate on this. For me, that's kind of the awkward thing. So for me, and I think it's a part he skipped over in his document, but there's VODs of this. After EDC, I went to Canada around that time to visit my parents, and he had surprise visited me in Canada. Again, around the time that we first started talking, and I was like, do I like him, do I not? And then when he showed up, I was really flattered by that because I don't have like a shit ton of dating experience and no one had ever done such like an extravagant thing per se to surprise me. So I was like, oh, maybe I should give him a chance. And so in Canada, I was like trying to open my heart up to the idea a bit more. But I realized it just didn't feel right, essentially. And I was like, oh, okay, now I know like this is not something that I want to pursue. So when we came back home, again, May-ish, I had that talk with him. May 2018, I believe. I had that talk with him. And I was like, because I remember it was an emotional talk. I was like, listen, dog, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm so not used to talking about private stuff, so yeah. I think you guys get the point. So I think to him, to me, it was like, I've had this conversation with you, and now, like, admittedly, in hindsight, it was selfish that, like, I wanted to, like, still be friends and still be close. But I think he read that as, like, signs of maybe wanting more. But in my mind, I was like, I already had this convo with you of, like, not wanting more. So but also, there was like this cycle of like we'd get close and I'd be like, I think like you think this is headed in a way that it's not headed. Like we can't be like this close. Cause like boundaries would be pushed and blah, blah, blah. So since we're on that subject, oh my God, I just realized I am not reading my side of the document at all. So I'm just gonna make sure that I didn't miss anything. Taiwan trip. 3 years ago was the first time me and Fed got close, had any sort of flirty interaction, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, saying the private cringy flirty text, they're kind of whatever. Anyone who's ever flirted with anyone probably has cringy texts like that. I want to reiterate that even though these are out, my personal life is still my right to discuss publicly as little or as much as I personally desire. I also want to say that I feel he implied we were heavily involved when me and Fed were never intimate, we were never sexual, and also I knew, and anyone who has watched his stream, like he's kind of a flirty guy, right? So as cringy as these are, I don't think these texts from 3 years ago are indicative of much in regards to the things that I said were problematic in my first stream, which I will get to. Oh, yes. So essentially, people reading this document may feel like I lied about there being something going on between me and Fed. I understand where that comes from completely, and just want to explain that I was trying to share a very specific instance where I felt Fed lied about the state of our friendship or relationship, and it happened much later than these texts in Taiwan. It happened way after May when he visited, and I had that conversation with him of like, listen, I just want to be friends. So that's why, in my mind, I was saying like, this was so after the time that we were involved. I knew, and I think he knew, that it was inappropriate for him to say to, he brings up Steve later, I don't even know where. That's the incident that I was actually referring to. So later, after the conversation in May, I'm like, we're just friends. I think this was like summer, July, June. Steve is a random fucking name, let's be honest. So, yeah, I think, genuinely speaking, I can't say that either of us maneuvered the situation as best as we could, but I always tried to be so upfront about like, I just want to be friends. I'm seeing other people. Like, yeah, I want to be close to you. I obviously still want to be your friend. Like, you're a really important person in my life, and I understand those signs are probably misconstrued. But that's why I was so open about like, oh, I'm really excited for like this person to come to the party. I want to talk to this person, that person, blah, blah, blah. So that's what happened. He told Steve essentially that we were a thing long after I had this conversation with him about, I just want to be friends. So that's why I mentioned that specific part on my stream. So I understand now people are like, yeah, but you guys flirted, so you had a thing. In my mind, it was like, we flirt here, we end here. And then he fucks up way over here. I hope that makes sense. I also wanted to showcase only one screenshot because, yeah, I'm not really here to air dirty laundry. But I want to make it clear that, to me, this was an incident with Steve, an incident that was very clearly a mess up on Fed's part. Because when he told Steve that night, oh yeah, me and Poki have a thing, Steve told me, and I said, no, we don't. I confronted Fed about it. Fed apologized and said, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Like, yeah, it was my bad. I didn't want something happening, blah, blah, blah. So to me, it was like, oh, you admitted fault. Like, you know that what you did was wrong. And also, prior to the first stream I did where I spoke about everything, I messaged Fed and I said, I'm going to speak out about things because I feel like people are being really harsh towards Lily and Yvonne and they're not believing them. Is there anything that you would really want me to leave out? I don't know if I can accommodate, but I also don't want to make things terribly difficult for you. I won't mention or super personal details, mainly some lies and instances where people felt manipulated. And he said, if you can find it in you to leave out telling like the situation where I told Steve that you and I were a thing, it's something I would just not like mentioned, but I understand if not. Otherwise, I trust you, and I think doing what's best for Lily and Yvonne's comfort is the right play. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't leave that out because it's the best/easiest example I can give of lying or like some form of manipulation. So again, this is the only thing I am willing to include, like just as an actual fact check of like, he asked me not to mention this thing, which to me is like an admission of guilt, essentially. But now, months later, he's saying, oh no, that's not how it went down. And you know what? It's his prerogative to say that. But obviously, I have been told and have been believing what I've been told for however long. So that was my truth in regards to this happening. All right. So yeah. Essentially we just had trouble being close but managing our friendship, especially knowing he wanted more, but I was always upfront. Well, I always felt I was upfront about how I felt and what he could or couldn't expect from me. Obviously we probably were not on the same page. We were essentially in a difficult to maneuver situation. It really bothered me that in this document he tried so hard to paint me as the bad guy or like leading him on, when I felt I was always honest. And I know there are parts in here where he's like, yeah, and sometimes she would like hang out with guys at the house, and it was like, it felt really bad for me. And you know what? I get that, but I hope you guys can also see from my perspective, that was me trying to be upfront about like, I am dating, I am seeing people. Like, again, I am not pursuing a future between the two of us. So I hope you guys can kind of see how there's two sides to that. And again, I never wanted to intentionally hurt him or want him to feel bad. Obviously, I, at this point, don't think he was trying to do that to me either. Just think that some moments were like really inconsiderate. But anyways, looking back, I should have been more aware and careful of how I acted around him, so there are no signals to misread, but you know, hindsight 2020. And I learned a lot from the situation. To me, in all honesty, it's really, all of this is really not all that important. It's regular 20-year-old relationship bullshit. He said, she said, blah, blah, blah. You know, nothing that important happened, in my opinion. What I shared about the Steve situation is my honest truth. And I feel like it is just really irrelevant in comparison to the incident that actually triggered all of this, if that makes sense. I don't even know where I left off. My general allowed to a friend to talk to. Oh, yes, I think this is a good place to go. So, since we're on that subject, in her stream she mentioned I would try to manipulate just friends, which is like our friends, to hate her or not be her friend. That's unfoundedly slanderous. I'm so sorry, that wording makes me laugh a bit. My intention was always that I wanted a friend to talk to. Lily was probably sick of hearing the same story between us every 3 months. Thanks for always listening to me anyway, Lily. Probably true. And can I just say, like, everything over the last, like, 3 years just makes me realize that, like, as much as me and Fed, like, kind of got along, we just are such different people, and we see things so differently. So the way he sees it is like, oh, I'm just, like, venting to my friends because I need to let my emotions out. For me, I tried really hard not to vent to people within or very close to OTV about Fed, because I knew that essentially it's kind of like shit talking him, and then they're going to see him differently, and it's just going to fuck with the dynamic. But I don't think he realized that aspect of things. So he said, I wanted nothing more than for everyone to be friends with Poki. So let me give a little context here since that was never provided. Poki always goes to bed at midnight every night without fail. And if she doesn't, something's really wrong. And if she stays up longer, she gets crazy in a funny way. Sometimes true. She takes the AM streaming slots, as most of you know, so that requires good sleep. Obviously, of course, after my stream, I'd always seek quality time with her, and that would generally involve dinner and a show. Some nights we would eat downstairs and other nights on our bed, so if I stopped the stream at 10 p.m., I'd hang with her till midnight. Then I would F off and hang out with the rest of the house and go hang out at just friends. I'd primarily vent to one of the girls about everything. She'd always give me a good female's perspective and made me feel like it was going to be okay. It was in some sense therapeutic. I would rarely talk to the other girls about my issues with Poki. From my perspective and from what I've heard, that doesn't seem true. He also mentions talking to Lily. He mentions talking to another girl at just friends, and again, just not what I really heard. It's just nuts to hear now that I was being manipulative and trying to make the girls hate her, leave her out intentionally. That's complete bullshit. I just wanted someone to talk to that could guide me through those emotions. It's also difficult to now hear some of the girls say that they looked at me as a member of OTV and not just a friend, like I looked at them. I understand that although my intentions were innocent, the unintentional side effect is that the just friends people might have seen her differently. I'm deeply sorry, and I wish I was more aware of those repercussions. I do, however, think intentions matter when you're characterizing someone as a manipulator in front of thousands of people. So, essentially, he was very frustrated by the fact that I was saying all of these people around me have come to me and told me that they essentially avoided being my friend because of things you had told them. And that made them feel manipulated. That made me feel manipulated. But it wasn't his intention, and he wasn't trying to be manipulative. So you see how it's a bit of a fine line. He was really unhappy being painted as a manipulator, when in reality, he was just inconsiderate in the way that he was talking about me. But to us, it just felt manipulative, because we're like, oh, we just missed out on friendships we could have had all along, essentially. And it makes me deeply uncomfortable to see someone essentially like psychoanalyze me and provide all of these, in my opinion, irrelevant details in regards to my life. I know he's kind of trying to like take the blame off of how he might have impacted potential friendships, but to me, it's just unnecessary. So I'm gonna read. I might be repeating some things, but I want to read what I wrote. So yeah, again, actually, I'll finish reading this paragraph and then I'll say it. If she was really afraid of being alienated, she would have taken the time out of her day to be their friend. She didn't stream every day. She could have gone over just to hang like I did so many times on my off days. None of the things I would ever say to just friends would ever imply that they shouldn't be friends with her. It was only ever typical relationship issues and how do I get over it type conversations. It's crazy to me that things are being said otherwise. There wasn't a looming dark cloud of malice towards her in that house. This is the truth. Poki would generally only come over if there was something she could tangibly benefit from in some way. Large streaming events, midnight birthday streams. It's the same reason you never saw her come into people's streams at OTV. And when she wasn't streaming, she was also always grinding or practicing whatever game she wanted to get better at for stream. I don't want to go into this too deep. Sorry. Because I'm not here to attack her character, but it's just the way things were. She had her priorities, we had ours. I'm sure she's gotten better at it now. Midnight hangout sessions at Just Friends, LOLY. She applies this kind of philosophy to so many things in her life. It truly disappointed me because I and people in the house wanted her more in our lives. I get it, she was driven by her business and stream. It's just wild that I'm the scapegoat now for her not wanting to make sacrifices to go over Just Friends. I don't feel that is fair at all. Okay. My side. Hello, it is me, Poki, the actual person doing these things. It is so weird to, like, by a friend try to be painted as, like, this, like, ruthless businesswoman. Like, yeah, I mean, streaming is such a cool career. Of course, it's something that I care about a lot, that I was especially really interested in then. I've learned to balance my life a bit better. But I just want to say, these are none of the reasons why it was sometimes difficult for me to hang out with other people. It wasn't because I wanted something out of them. I mean, I can't even recall anything that I could gain from, like, streaming events at other people's houses, midnight birthday streams. I'm like one head in the back of like 20. But the reason these were a bit easier for me to go to is because, like, oh, it's someone's birthday. I want to go say happy birthday. But when it comes to, like, oh, let me just Uber over to their house at a point in time where I didn't have solid friendships with these people. And also, as I have tried to state earlier, essentially, like, the things that he had said to people, I could tell that there were just bad vibes. You know what I mean? I think you guys know what I mean. Like, sometimes you get that sentiment that someone just sees you differently or, like, isn't really open to wanting to be your friend. That's why, like, I couldn't drive over at 10 p.m. like he perhaps felt comfortable to, and I felt more comfortable in large settings. Or for birthdays where I felt like it made sense for me to come over and say happy birthday. In a sense, that was, like, a step that I was trying to take to be supportive. And I actually remember, like, I remember this thought pattern that I had a lot and that I even shared with him where I was like, oh, like, do you think I, like, come off as intimidating to some people or something? Like, am I hard to approach? Sometimes I want to be friends with people, but I feel like I don't get that same feeling back. So I know this is something I shared with him, and it has nothing to do with me profiting off of, like, oh my god, lol, I don't even know, you know? So yeah. That's my take, and I think the best testament to all of this is just the fact that in the last 6 months, and I'm not saying this is entirely Fed's fault, to some extent it was also me, but I know that after the intervention, it felt like there was, like, this barrier lifted from between me and so many other people, and now my friendships with people in OTV, with Just Friends, with our friends in general, is just, like, tremendously better than it was before. y'all seen me be up late and shit, okay? So it wasn't that like always felt I had to stream at a certain time, but it was also like I needed to feel like really invited or really welcomed, and I just didn't back then. So yeah. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute. I'm gonna finish just this part about like friendships and stuff, and then I will ask you guys if you have any questions before we move on to the rest. So yeah, again, this part makes me uncomfortable to read, and maybe you guys can relate. But when you see someone else psychoanalyze you to kind of arrive to whatever conclusion they want to get to, it just feels weird. Like me waking up early, like sure, I like a nice sleep schedule, but you guys have seen me stay up hella late for Among Us streams or for whatever, as long as I have the company to do it with and I feel welcomed. It just feels weird, but the point is, me and Fed spoke about this when I first learned of this document weeks ago. He felt that what I said on stream made it seem like he manipulated people around me into not wanting to be my friend, and he was upset because we didn't mention that that wasn't his intention. He didn't mean to have that impact, even though he did. He was just being inconsiderate in regards to the way he spoke about me to my friends. And I believe this. I don't think he was actively trying to make people not want to be my friend, even though that's what he ended up doing. And this wasn't a conclusion that I tried to come to at all. It was one that was almost like hurtfully thrown in my face when we held these interventions. And I spoke out about my feelings, and so many people came up to me and apologized and told me that they saw me in a different light because of things Fed said, and that they were just so sorry that they like really put no effort into trying to be friends, or yeah, they just had this perception of me already, which, mind you, is also a very common thing online. Like I have people come in my chat and they're like, just heard all these people shit talk you or like these weird videos, but I actually watch your streams and I really like you now. Like it's essentially that, to be honest. So yeah, the same thing has happened to me. You know, sometimes he has mentioned certain things to me and maybe he doesn't think that it'll have an impact on the way that I see someone, but it does. And then I kind of avoid being their friend. But then later on, I find out that they're actually really great people I would have gotten along with. And it's something that just happens in friend groups, okay? It just fucking happens. Unfortunately, the way it happened with Fed was like a bit of a larger scale and a bit more only about me. Yeah. So it was unfortunate, it was unintentional, but nonetheless, it did occur. So, yeah, and the last part I just say like, yeah, I talk about my schedule and bedtime, blah, 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 but I think it's kind of easy to see that I'm just much closer with everybody now, and I'm so happy about that, and it feels so nice to know that like, even when something like this comes out, like I have friends that I know will support me, and that really know and like just truly genuinely know who I am now. And I think that is just priceless. So yeah, so far as to the things that we've covered, are there any questions or things that I might have skimmed over? This one. Any important questions? Oh geez, oh geez, oh geez. My bad. I will talk about the Jody thing once we get there. Do not worry, I will. Sorry you have to go through this. I appreciate that. I want up. I want up. Can any specific questions? No, doesn't seem like it. Would you ever consider mutual forgiveness? I think we're essentially at that point. It's just unfortunate that this came out. If there's anything I skipped, just please say it specifically. What about how one of the screenshots directly contradicts your previous statement about Yvonne? Which one specifically? Also, we haven't gotten there yet, actually. I haven't addressed the Yvonne situation or anything below it. So far, we've talked about my personal relationship with Fed and the friendship situation. Could you rephrase what you said about being closer to your friends? Sounds like Fed's downfall was a positive event. I don't want to interpret wrong. No, it's not Fed's downfall. It's just that the intervention kind of helped people realize that they had certain perceptions of me that stopped them from wanting to be my friend. And after that, it was like a barrier was lifted, and then we were able to be better friends, luckily. I put chat in sub mode because it is so boom. In terms of like a flirty cringe text, it's like it just is what it is, honestly. I don't really know what else to say. It's like, yeah, I feel like that's very normal, like, but again, we just like, we never crossed that line. I said it, he said it. It just is what it is. And I don't like that kind of stuff being out there. I mean, I know people will make their assumptions, but why else would we clarify that personally? I did see Fed's tweet. How did it get leaked? He shared it with someone that I guess was not a very trustworthy person, and they leaked it. Yep. I can't find the, okay. No hate, do you think you led on Fed slightly to the point where most people would consider you two as seeing each other? I think there was a point, again, at first, like at EDC, that I was like, yeah, no, we were talking at that point. That's why I wasn't mad that he told Josh that we were like talking to each other or seeing each other. But afterwards, I felt like I had that conversation with him. I said, I just want to be friends. I understand he probably wasn't on the same page as me, but that kind of just happens in life sometimes. It was unfortunate. Neither of us really handled it the best way. I'm not going to say that, but yeah. Okay. I will just finish it so that people can ask questions that are relevant to any part. And then he talks about the Steve thing, and he says that it's not true. Okay. Steve told me, Fed said, you guys are seeing each other, and he told me not to tell you that I know. And he's saying that that's not true, but I confronted Fed about it the very next day. I told Fed that I would talk about it prior to my stream when I spoke about the Yvonne and Lily situation. I feel like that's all that I can do. And he did not say that any of it was false up until very recently. So it's up to you guys to really say what you believe, but yeah. Again, I feel like this is more personal him stuff, like, oh, it's hard to live with someone that was seeing other people when I was interested in them. Understand? Looking back, I can certainly empathize with her. I could have invited her over more, and when she later brought up to me that she was feeling left out, I made it a point to start inviting her more, although she rarely accepted. So the claim that I was the primary reason she was isolated and that I ruined her chances with a friendship with them is a dramatic stretch. So again, I feel like he's kind of he is trying. And unfortunately, this is all so outdated, so I also don't even want to say, this isn't even how he feels anymore, but that's what I was told, essentially. If your friends come to you and they say, hey, this person made me look at you differently, and that's why I've had trouble being your friend, I think you're probably going to believe them. So it really isn't like me trying to make this dramatic stretch. That's kind of all I'm trying to say. And then he talks more about how we would get closer when I wasn't seeing someone. And I think that's fair. But also to me, it was like, for me, like my boundary of we're seeing each other isn't like, oh, we're like hanging out, we're close, this and that. So I think it was just like a messy situation in general. Again, not saying I handled it the best, not saying he handled it the best either. So unfortunately, a lot of miscommunication and such. Again, some of the stuff is tough to read because I feel like him being like, she's lying to thousands of people, it's just like him venting and isn't really meant to be out there. And I think even now, as he said in his statement, like he realizes that all I was saying was my truth. I have no reason to lie about him. There's just really no need. And yeah, and perhaps my truth doesn't align with what he knows or what he feels he intended, but yeah. I think I don't really think I can speak to this. It's just him talking to Lily. This text I regret so much. So I told you guys I saw this document before, and for him to include, I don't really know why he included like this text where I was being very petty towards Jody. I think this was like 2 or 3 houses ago when Jody was first entering the friend group, and I had like heard perhaps some like not the best things, and so my perception was skewed and I just said some petty stuff that is bad. And I want you guys to know actually that when I first saw this document and I spoke to Fed about it and we resolved things privately, I immediately, like as soon as I saw that text message, I immediately went to Jody and I was like, listen, this is never going to be public, but I want to apologize for what I said because it's just BM and stupid, and she is such a lovely person, such a lovely friend of mine now, and I just regret ever saying that about her. It is really, really petty and stupid, but no malintent at all. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation where like, yeah, you see someone negatively and then, oh, you get to know them and it's like, you had no idea what the heck you were talking about. So yeah, just stupid, petty, gossipy stuff, and I am so, so sorry for it. And I will say that wrongly, a lot of the things that I felt I said were just like, I felt like me and Fed were like best friends at one point, and there were things that probably came off to him as like more romantic that to me were just like, oh, like I love you so much as a friend, which is so cringe to say, and I've learned my lesson. But yeah, like, yeah. Also, everybody in the friend group like called each other honey bunny, which is like cringe again. But like also this is the way that I act with a lot of my girlfriends. I understand you don't act this way with your guy friends, but again, learn and lesson. So yeah, it feels so weird to talk about this because it really is just like cringe. I think the Yvonne situation is important to address though. So let's get into it. In her stream, Poki says that I tried to get Yvonne fired because of the incident between us. This is just 100% false. I never tried to get her fired. I always wanted her to be part of OTV. Just for reference, the incident between me and Yvonne was in December of 2018. Actually, do you guys need me to read through this? Because he kind of clarified this in his most recent statement where he said, oh, Poki was never trying to say that I was trying to get Yvonne fired. She was trying to say that Yvonne almost got fired because of her behavior that stemmed from the incident between them. So here's my TLDR. For my stream talking about Fed felt like it made it seem like I was saying he was trying to get Yvonne fired. In reality, I was trying to say that Fed didn't directly try to do that, but she was almost let go from OTV because she had a lack of motivation towards the work, but her lack of motivation stemmed from what Fed had done to her and the fact that she didn't want to interact with him. So, no, he didn't try to get her fired, but what he did to her made her so unmotivated that she almost lost her position. And I'm genuinely sorry to you guys, the public, if I didn't convey that message properly the first time that I said it, but that's what I meant. And I, at the moment, was so caught up in my frustration, seeing that in hindsight, it had nothing to do with who she is as a person or how much she cares about offline TV, because she cares so much and she does such an amazing job. And it just had everything to do with this really, really shitty situation that happened to her. So, to reiterate, and I'm so sorry for having to bring this back up, but after Fed touched Yvonne inappropriately, she just lost motivation to work on OTV stuff. And that led into all of these conversations that you see where we're like, do we need to get someone else on board? Like, what are we doing? I'm so sorry for my stomach. What are we doing? Like, we need to fix things, blah, 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 blah. That's where it all stemmed from. But in reality, like, it was nothing that was actually wrong with her. And it was from the situation that occurred. So, yeah. And yeah, I was also very frustrated thinking back to times where I didn't know about what happened and he would complain about her to me. And I'm like a pretty business-oriented person and I'm like, I don't want OTV to die. What do? We need to fix this problem. Like, does she want to be a content creator? Does she want to do something else? Like, we need to talk about this, guys. And I think, and I think that's essentially what these text messages are. Oh my God. Do you guys hear my stomach? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been up for like 30 hours and I haven't eaten since yesterday. I'll eat after. I'm so sorry. But yeah, let me get through this. So yeah, basically I'm like, for me, it's like if she doesn't want this position, like we should get someone else, like a biz dev, someone who's really passionate about it, blah, blah, blah. And it makes me mad to see me talk like this because me at that time had no motherfucking clue what happened between Fed and Yvonne and why she was acting this way. Does that make sense? Okay, thanks. I think that makes sense. And yes, we did have a lot of talks and things worked out in the end. And actually, one of the biggest conversations that led to her staying was like, I just went downstairs after some meetings that we had and I spoke to her one-on-one. And I was like, and I really learned about like what she's passionate about, what she wants to do, and just hearing, quick side note, OTV has a bit of a problem where not a lot of, people in the past that we've hired for specific positions slowly turned into content creators. So that was a bit of a sore spot, especially for me. And so I was like, please no, another one bites the dust. Like, I don't want that to happen. But really all it needed was like a good conversation between me and her and everything was resolved after. And I was like, no, we can make this work. Like, I can see that's not your end goal. So like we really, like, she's such a special part of OTV that obviously we wanted to make it work. So let's see if I'm missing anything. I think he's basically, I don't want to talk about Yvonne, like personally. The stuff relating to me, sure. Poki's claim or stream. I actually don't even know what this is. He shit-talked Yvonne and Lily, but huge. This is such a hard stream to do. The way he shit-talked Yvonne and Lily to me and others, particularly, I will just recount my experience, is so frustrating knowing what happened between them. The Yvonne incident happened, and Fed would start talking to me. I'm so sorry for being mature. he would talk to me about how Yvonne was lazy,
Sorry if it's
not
quiet,
working enough, and playing League all the time. And I was concerned. And he would say, oh, she like won't work on OTV stuff with me or brainstorm. Put a huge... Yeah. And that will be important to discuss in a momento. So this is where things get really dicey. We move into the new house and we have that new remote assistant. She's doing an awesome job and really helping. Yvonne, since her primary focus was merch, had a lot of free time, so naturally she started streaming a lot more regular and making YouTube videos. Some months passed and I get a text from Poki with screenshots of her convo with Lily where she brings up her concerns about Yvonne becoming a content creator. I responded by saying I thought we were cool with her going the content creator route. She responds with no. She started complaining that she was getting sponsor deals, posting a lot on her YouTube, etc. She said it's very weird, Imo. I just want to clarify again. Yvonne, get that bag. Whoever, get that bag. Again, the same thing had happened to us in the past, and I just didn't want someone else to like be brought on board and then just become a content creator. That's what I was bothered about. If she's like, but again, we had the conversation later on where she's like, no, like that's not my end goal, and I like what I do with OTV, and that was enough reassurement for me. I don't even know what word I'm looking for. Poki suggested getting together and making a decision as a group, and yes, that's true. I always push for meetings so that we can all discuss things instead of like me just texting Fed. I don't recall this actually. Quarantine has made it very, isn't really let her prioritize. Oh, I think this is Omega recent. Yeah, I don't really know. Okay, this is me trying to make sure offline TV doesn't die. I don't really know what he's trying to show by these messages, but I've always been someone in the group who's like, guys, we need like consistency. We need to make sure we have someone focusing on the group. And what happened was that, if you guys remember, during quarantine, Fed started streaming a lot more. And he kind of stopped being our main content guy. And can I just say, at this point, none of this matters because OTV has been fucking great for like half a year. Because we now have like a decent amount of employees doing an amazing job, and I no longer have conversations like this because things are running smoothly, and I'm so happy about it. It's so sad to have these random one-off out of context screenshots leaked to try to make me look bad, when in reality I'm just saying like I care about this thing. I want to make sure it works. What do we do if Yvonne does want to be a full-time creator? What do we do now that we don't have someone working on this, on that? Like, that's really all that I'm trying to do. I hope you guys can see that. Oh, I show these DMs because they further show that I had no interest in seeing Yvonne fired. But they're DMs of me. It doesn't even have anything to do with him, in my opinion. But again, this is all irrelevant because Fed now understands. I wasn't saying he was trying to get her fired. I was saying the incident that happened between us. The incident that happened between him and Yvonne is the reason she almost stopped being a part of OTV, which makes me very sad to know in hindsight. I want to make it clear I spent months debating on whether or not to release this because I know how much pain it might cause everyone involved. I know this will in no way clear my name, but it's been hard to sleep at night when I know there's so much misinformation, spiteful narratives, blah, blah, blah. I also don't think he feels this way anymore. I think I have always been very clear that the only reason I spoke out about my negative experiences with Fed was because, I don't know if you guys remember, but when Lily and Yvonne first came out with their statements, people were like shitting on them. And it was really just not okay. And I felt that I had to speak to his character in a sense. And to this day, I know that's something that was very impactful for both Lily and Yvonne. And I know Lily literally removed her tweet because of all the shit she was getting. Anyways, I think he said something about me collecting information. Any information I was collecting was for the intervention. Like, of course, when all us girls heard, like, oh, there seems to be a pattern here, I did start asking other girls around us, like, is everything okay? Have you had any issues like this? But it's just out of care, and it's out of, like, wanting the intervention to go well and for the right people to be there and for him to really understand the impact he's had on others. It was very recent, and this was the first time I opened up about my past experiences with Fed to all the girls in our friend circle, and this led to everyone slowly opening up about their negative experiences with Fed. Mind you, I felt like it was a good enough time to talk about my resentment because it was way past everything that happened. Mind you, yeah, I think this could be a good time to talk about, I did have a lot of pent up resentment towards Fed. Maybe I should read a bit more from my document. I think that would be helpful. But essentially, I just want to speak to that real quick. It is true, I did, but that's one of the main reasons why I tried to move out. That's it. I felt like it was a me problem. I was like, listen, we have like baggage. Our friendship is not what it once was. And I saw him differently. He probably saw me differently. And I was like, you know what? I love OTV. I don't want to cause any issues. So I started making plans to move out. And do you guys, would it be helpful if I spoke more in regards to that? I don't know if that's an important point. Okay. Because I also think there are like all these conspiracy theories that like I wanted Fed out of OTV or stuff like that. I want to make it really clear. I had no agenda when it came to Fed. And I think the biggest testament to that is that I moved out before he did. I was planning to move out to deal with my own resentment towards him and my own issues way before Yvonne came out with her statement and before Fed left the house. I think if I wanted to kick him out, like I would have just stayed and tried to, like to me it just doesn't make sense. But also to further elaborate on why I moved out, and at the time I just didn't really want to talk about it because I didn't want any potential negative speculation surrounding OTV. But essentially, a big part of it was just not really feeling comfortable with him. Again, I don't want to badmouth him too much. I'm just saying that's how I felt, and I didn't want to feel that way in my own home. And also, I just wasn't close enough with anybody else in the house back then. I also felt like there were kind of barriers in certain places there, which luckily have broken down over the last few months, and I'm so happy. Like, I have never loved everybody in OTV more than I do today, genuinely. But prior to moving out, I just felt like Fed was the closest person I was with. Our friendship had kind of soured, and I wasn't as close with anyone else. So I was like, listen, I'm just going to take myself out of the equation so we can still make content together and everybody is happy together. And I'm going to go live with some girls, no boy drama, and hopefully also a better separation of my work and personal life because that is of large importance to me. So yeah, does that better explain my decision-making process for moving out? Okay. So, let's see if I missed anything. Oh, I also want to mention that on stream she was pretty supportive about me getting help and changing, yet a month later I posted a photo on Instagram captioning it, "I'm working on myself." 1 hour later she unfollowed me off all social media, and 2 hours later she posted this tweet with comments taken straight from my post. It seems she is less interested in seeing me change and more interested in seeing me canceled. And okay, he did post this like a month after everything happened. And I did tweet. I was like, in this industry, a girl fucks up, what a fake bitch. A guy fucks up, OMG king, don't worry, everybody makes mistakes. And I won't lie, that is some petty shit I did. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, they're unrelated. You know, like, yeah, I saw it and I was like, I feel like it's a bit soon. And I just, you know, I didn't want to see it. And maybe I tweeted a little petty thing or not. I don't know if this is like something I'm supposed to apologize for. I think I'll just admit, like, yeah, I did this. Is it the nicest thing? No, but also I was just so over it. I was really just so over it. And I'm gonna be honest about that. So, yeah. Oh, I will also admit and try to be like as transparent as possible. I need to eat. This also stems a little bit from seeing different situations with others, sometimes feeling like people, like I will, I don't know, I'll say some weird shit like 6 years ago and randoms will like never let it go. So I did feel a bit of like personally slighted. So I know this is also a sort of insecurity of mine, but also just being a petty bitch sometimes. Alright, the intervention aftermath. I just want to quickly mention all the steps I took after the intervention. As a house, they agreed that they didn't want to see me burn and that I was going to release my own statement with everyone's approval. When the intervention happened, I took it all very seriously. I was so sorry and remorseful. I went back to my room, feeling lost, scared, alone, complete shock. I called 3 people and told them what happened. Should I talk about this? Because I guess this isn't really relevant to me. Well, I'll just say a little bit. Essentially, he's saying, like, after the intervention, I spoke to some people about it, and the way those people talked to people in OTV about it made OTV feel like I wasn't taking it seriously, even though Fed felt he was taking it seriously. And again, when I found this document, I actually had a very upfront conversation with him about, like, these are the specific things you did and said that made us think you weren't taking what we said very seriously, and also making us feel like you were kind of just trying to figure out what was next for you, as opposed to really reflecting on your past mistakes. And he was like, oh, okay, I understand that. I also want to say, throughout this entire process, what we released publicly was always in Yvonne's hands, and I think that's how it should be. I would never pressure someone to talk about something so personal publicly, and that's just the way we went about it. So it's like, Yvonne, you don't want to talk about it publicly? We won't. Now you feel like it's the right time to? Then we will. Like, that was just bottom line for me. I really wanted to, at the very least, have that private intervention and hope that he gets better. When it comes to how we handled it publicly, that's a group decision and an Yvonne decision. I mean, an Yvonne decision in regards to what she says publicly, but how we handle it is a group decision. And overall, it's clearly poking out a very volatile relationship, and I'm certainly guilty of being inconsiderate, oversharing, and breaking her trust. But I hope that this new information sheds a light on my side of things and gives a lot of much-needed context that was initially provided. Never at any point was I trying to be manipulative or keep Poki from making friends. I never wanted Yvonne fired. It horrifies me for how much and for how long misinformation about me and my character have been out there. Like I said, there are issues I'm working on. Yeah, I think the rest is also not related to me. So let me see if I missed anything in my doc, and then we can just chit-chat. I will say it is so tiring to read this document because Fed did some really distasteful things that many of our friends spoke out about. And this kind of feels like, obviously to me personally, I might be a bit biased, but it just feels like an unnecessary diversion from the more important things. Though I do understand he feels that he was made to look worse than he is, but two wrongs don't make a right. And this document is just so wrong on so many levels. He was close to me for 2+ years. So sure, he has a lot of text that could make me look sus, especially out of context. I'd like to think that I've grown since then, but also if the worst of what I've said or done is like some small petty stuff, I feel like it's still pretty far from the incident that triggered all of this. And it doesn't change what he did. And at the end of the day, it's kind of just more public entertainment and drama and fodder for the subreddits. It doesn't better anyone's life whatsoever. Yeah. Yeah. Also, I understand the conspiracy theories are enticing, but there is no big, bad, ruthless businesswoman decisions being made here. We've always told Yvonne that when it comes to this very delicate matter, it is entirely up to her. And OTV is like fucking 23 people. I'm just kidding. We're like 5, 6, 7, something like that. And I don't control it. I just really don't. Of course, I have a say, and I'm always trying to do what is best. I'm not always perfect, but yeah. So, before I finish, ultimately, I think... wow, my throat, bruh. Yeah. Ultimately, I think it's fair to say that there's my truth, there's his truth, and the actual truth is probably somewhere in between. I'm not perfect. I'm far from. Same with Fed. I am really sad that what was once such a close friendship of mine has turned into all of this. Like, it genuinely feels like surreal. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna mentally process that. And I really hope to never have a public feud like this ever again. I'm genuinely trying not to be involved in drama, hence why I spoke to him about this document weeks ago privately, and we came to an agreement on how to handle the situation. It is unlucky that he shared it with someone who then leaked it. I hope I can show you guys who I genuinely am, who I want to be, by hopefully avoiding or properly handling these types of conflicts, because I really don't enjoy being in this situation. A bitch need to eat. Also, don't forget to wish Skara and Toast a happy birthday. So yeah. Let me know if I missed anything. I know avoiding misconceptions is really important so we can finally shut this mother flippin' door closed once and for all. You said you didn't know about the situation with Yvonne before the talks were being fired, but somewhere in the doc says you did know before. Good point that I think I didn't get to read in my doc. Yes, I'll read that to you guys now. So he brings up, I think at some point, I accidentally skipped over it. He brings up a fair point where he says I lied about not knowing what happened between him and Yvonne. On my stream, I said how I was so upset. Thinking back at the times, I was worried about Yvonne's behavior and how much she was or wasn't dedicated to OTV, when in reality she was acting out a certain way because of what Fed did to her. And I think the way he interpreted it, and perhaps the way it was understood publicly also, is me pretending like I didn't know. But what I meant was that I hadn't known for so many months. And then there was a point in time where I heard about what had happened, but I did not have full details. I didn't know about it to the extent that it was spoken about publicly, whether on Dr. Kate or in the statement. I didn't know it happened twice. You know, like, I just heard that something inappropriate had happened between Fed and Yvonne. But prior to me hearing about this, which was at least half a year after the actual incident, there was a half a year of me, like, essentially, like, seeing Yvonne in a light that was false. Does that make sense? So yeah, I didn't know full details until it fully came out, but I did know at some point many months, or I had heard about it many months after it did come out. So that's where it's a bit complicated. And when I was saying, like, I'm really frustrated that I had certain thoughts, I was referring to the many months that I had no clue. And I understand he took it as me, like, saying that I didn't know prior at all, but that's not what I'm trying to say. And I also, like, I think even Toast said he tried to talk to Fed about it at one point. So I think I found out, like, a bit after Toast. But even then, I really, like, I didn't know everything, and I didn't know to the severity that it was. Yeah. Anyways, I bought a whole bunch of shungite rocks. Do you know what shungite is? Anybody know what shungite is? No, not sugnite. I think he's locked up in prison. I'm talking shungite. Anyways, it's a 2 billion year old like rock stone that protects against frequencies and unwanted frequencies that may be traveling in the air. That's my story. I bought a whole bunch of that stuff. Put them around the La Casa, little pyramids, stuff like that. Another doc to talk about today. All right, yeah, sorry. Please do ask me any misconceptions. I want to make sure that just fucking get it all out there. This is like cringe overlord for me. Overlord? Overload. I'm the overlord. But yeah. I know this doesn't have much to do with the situation with these. Was Fed the only reason you moved out? No, not the only, but a big pushing force. Do you feel moving out has allowed you to get closer with OTV members and your current roommates? Actually, I feel like now I'd be more than happy to move back in because my relationships with everybody in the house is like way better than it was before. Crazy. So yes, it has allowed me to get closer, but I don't think it was so much moving out as it was like all this other stuff and these talks. And again, I don't want to blame Fed, but I have been a bit more comfortable with him not being around, and that has made it easier, again, for certain barriers to come down and for me to make certain connections. Not entirely his fault, but again, it was just with all the talking and yeah, you guys get it. Are you happy now? Very important. And after lease expires on your new house, would you consider moving back in with OTV members? I would. I am much happier now. Thank God. Is it over? Bridge burned forever. I think we are on decent terms, actually. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this. I think we all want to move the fuck on. Yeah, that's about it. It's not like a bridge burn because, well, not in the way it usually sounds, because I'm not here slinging shit at him. I'm not, I'm still covering up private information, even in the one screenshot I showed you guys. I'm not looking up dirt and blah, blah. Oh my God, Fed's in chat. God, my life is so fucking weird. Are you gonna cry? Does Fed know you're talking about it now? Well, yeah, seems like it. Alright, sorry, back to the questions. What's up? Did Miskiff leak? He said he did it, and I think he should get better content. Actually, I've changed my stance on Miskiff. I think he got better content. Yep. Miss kind of alright. Yep. Kind of a decent dude, you know what I'm saying? Kind of decent. kind of a decent dude. Alright, sorry. Back to the no more, I mean, sub-meme questions, but chat's moving so fast, I'm like, do I unsub-mode it? Because that feels a little bit chaotic. Do you have any oh, you know what? I'm actually not gonna read that. Did you buy the 25k Aquapolis booster box, or are you just opening? I bought it. I hope you continue to live with the girls. Bro, I wish I could live with OTV and with the girls at the same time. Buy a mansion. Maybe if we didn't live in LA, we actually could. Okay, I will, as much as I don't want to, out of fear, I will take off sub-only mode just to see if there are any, like, really good questions. I don't think what Fed says ruins all your friendships with just friends. Putting all the blame of those friendships on Fed is just wrong. You could have done a lot of things to improve those friendships, don't you think? Miss, thanks for the 5 gifted subs. Again, I'm not trying to blame Fed entirely. But also, I did try. Again, it was just a situation where I felt like the vibes were off, most likely due to the things that they had heard from Fed. I'm not saying that. They told me that. So again, it's not even me trying to put blame on Fed for no fucking reason. This was something that just like whacked me in the face. I wasn't looking for this conclusion. People came to me and they're like, listen, I always saw you a certain way because he said XYZ. So yeah, we love Yvonne. Yeah, we motherfucking do. It is really hard to know what to write. Why did you say that Fed shit-talked Yvonne when he wanted Yvonne to stay and you in reality wanted Yvonne fired? Seems like you're changing your first story. I never wanted Yvonne fired. I wanted OTV to always be working and consistent. And because of that, we did have to have conversations about Yvonne's position and role within the company. Fed did complain about Yvonne to people, not just to me, and that is what I'm referring to. Why would you say two wrongs don't make a right when Fed didn't even want the document to be public? It was good for Fed to write out his feelings and then get a better understanding, which he admitted. Because the document is still out there and it was still created. And until we had come to a private agreement, it was going to be released. Yeah. Genuine question, I don't have any particular side, but do you think nobody will notice how deliberately vague you're being while skipping over every screenshot from Fred that contradicts what you're saying about the sexual/romance talk? You repeatedly push and pull him away whilst being occasionally so possessive of him that you're spiteful over Jody simply mentioning him on stream. Thought maybe. That's fair. I think I skip over some of the texts that I feel don't really add much value. Like, yeah, we flirted. I don't know what else there is really for me to say. The Jody thing was just like an unfortunate petty thing. I actually wasn't trying to be possessive of him at the time. Also, all of these screenshots are from like wildly different times. So if you see screenshots from like when we were talking and then when we weren't, and then from back then later on, you're gonna think that it's like a constant push and pull. But that was never my intention. And yep, clock. Why did you call it yep clock? I don't know. You should buy a farm instead of living in LA. Kind of fucking true. If a girl flirts, OMG, you let him on. If a guy fucks up and sexually harasses someone, OMG, stop. I shouldn't have read that one. But that's true. Sorry, not the whole thing. I just mean, like, I don't know why people want me to go into text where I'm like, you're cute. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, this shit should not be out there anyways. What do you want me to say? That's what I'm confused about. Also, I think a lot of people are really, understandably so perhaps, hard pressed on like specific details about like, you guys were this close when you said you were friends and you were saying this, you were saying that. I'm not saying I handled the situation perfectly. I am human being. I don't have like 10 billion years of dating experience. This was like an experience of sorts, and I'm living and I'm learning. I really I just don't know what to say. I didn't handle it perfectly. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry you guys have to read and learn about this cringy shit. But like, you're not meant to, because you are never in my shoes. You were never in his shoes. You were never a third person observer. No one can properly judge a private relationship or friendship from one person's like venting journal entry, essentially. Is the drama over? Me hope so. All I'm saying is like, I really feel like in the grand scheme of things, when not me and Fed were flirty or should have been or shouldn't have been or whatever, it's like, it's just not that important, in my opinion. Do you guys remember what triggered this whole manifesto? This whole incident? Something completely unrelated. So again, I'm sorry. It's not that I'm trying to like intentionally be vague or pretend like I did nothing wrong. It's just like, it's just a personal situation. I didn't handle it perfectly and he didn't either. And that's really just that. That's really just that. And I feel like further like reading into every word isn't going to make a difference. Also, people keep bringing up the sleepovers. I don't know if you guys remember, but Fed slept in like everybody's room. That was like an active meme. He slept in Yvonne's room. He slept in Lily's room. He slept in all the girls' rooms, which we later find out probably wasn't the best thing. But when you're in that situation, you're like, oh, well, like, I guess this seems normal. Like, nothing's really happening. So it like becomes normal. And I really dislike that you guys are trying to hold that against me when like, he slept in all the girls' rooms. So I guess we all thought, well, it's normal. It's what friends do. So yeah, it was complicated. I don't really see what else you guys would like me to discuss in regards to that. Mind your own business. True. I totally get what you're saying about the friend thing. It's hard to be yourself and make friends if you feel uncomfortable around people or if you feel like they already don't like you. Exactly. The vibe is just different. It's just off. What did Toast mean when he said he could have done more? I.e., did he know the situation and stay silent or just regretted being unaware / inconsiderate. I can't and will not speak for Toast. Yeah. I think he mentioned trying to talk to Fed about it and just feeling like he couldn't get through to him as much as he wanted, or talking to Fed about just whatever issues it was. And I think it's just him, and I also wishing that things didn't go the way that they did. That's really it. Also, I'm so sorry if at any point my tone was off or anything like that. Again, I haven't slept in 30 whatever hours. And I haven't eaten in a while. So I am not in the best state. But I hope that this provided some much needed clarity. The TLDR is essentially like shit between me and Fed. We both fucked up and we're both the F over it, really. So we hope that you guys can be too. And everything else is up to you guys to judge, because he put his side there, I put mine, and I just ask you guys be reasonable, respectful, and try to perhaps compare it to situations in your life, you know? Yeah. Peter said earlier today on stream there was something he knew that was a lie in the doc. Would you want to address it? He was waiting for you to speak on it and give your side. I recommend Peter and anyone else to say whatever they want. I really don't want to speak for others. I don't want to drag anyone in this BS because I know how terrible it feels for me. I don't want anyone to feel like they need to be involved. And yeah. So really anybody's welcome to say anything, whether they want to corroborate my side, his side, you know, or just give their like third party opinion of like, guys, it's just not that deep. Which I think for a lot of it, it wasn't. Can we move on? Yes, please. Sorry, just texting my grandma. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys are ultimately here for the drama, which is like, it's understandable. This do be my real life though, so. Let's, I'll try to chill, put it behind us. I really just feel like some random flirty texts from 3 years ago are just not that important. But that ultimately, I actually think me and Fed better understand each other now. I understand that the negative ways in which he impacted me were not like malicious. I was still impacted, but they weren't malicious. And he understands that I wasn't trying to like pin certain things on him, like Yvonne almost being let go. I was just trying to say like, that occurred because her behavior stemmed from the incident that happened between them two. So that's how it's related to her. Or sorry, related to him. All right, so my brain's gonna boom. I'm thinking of hopping off. I am really, really afraid that I'm missing something and I'm gonna like have to talk about it later. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think. I'm putting it in subscribers mode real quick just to see if there's anything that is really important. I do feel like a lot of you guys did bring up really important points that I'm glad I got to clarify, but I don't know what else. Thanks for sharing your side, Poki. It's actually helpful. I hope so. What about the Lily and Michael situation? Did you hear they bought a whole bunch of shungite? Little periods and such. Put them all over the OTV house. I'm so happy to hear that. Do you think when you texted him flirty names and flirty things, you were in the wrong by leading him on and that was wrong? Again, even Fed knows, like, I never tried to lead him on. Like, there was just a point in time where we flirted, and there were many a point in times where we didn't. And there were a point in times where perhaps he took some of the things that I said as flirting when I didn't mean it that way. And you want to know what? That's life, okay? That is just situations with other humans sometimes. Okay. I'm gonna go make sure things are all Gucci. And yeah. You said that you didn't leave the house because of anyone in your room tour video, but now you're saying that you left because of tension between him and you. Yeah, I specifically remember talking about my room tour and being like, there's no issues, but like, that's just what you do because you love the company you're at and you don't want to cause problems. That's it. What, you wanted me to get up on my room tour and be like, well, listen here, bitches, this is what happened, and this guy said this about, like, I'm just not. You know? I think those are like one of the few rare instances where, like, in my mind, it's not lying. It's just like, I don't want to air dirty laundry. Like, no. If it needs to be out there, probably will someday, but like, no. I was really trying to avoid all that. Being flirty does not equal owing someone something. It's her choice if she wants a relationship. That's sweet. Okay. I'm gonna dip. I hope I didn't miss anything important. Again, thank you guys for listening. I'm so sorry I have to do this. Sometimes I worry I'm gonna be really fucked up from, it's just so weird, like really private things, and knowing how to handle it publicly. And I just want to say, again, his story, my story, and the truth is probably somewhere in between. And you guys are welcome to, you know, choose, or like maybe believe one side more than the other, or don't, or just be like, hey, this isn't even worth any brain power. You guys are welcome to do whatever. Just please be respectful towards people. Regardless of what you believe, you ain't gotta be rude to anyone, please. And please do not flood OTB members' chats today with anything aside from happy birthday, bitch. Happy birthday, bitch. Okay, I care about them a lot and I don't want any more issues. That's about it. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you to those that believe in me. And just believe that I'm not perfect, but I really am always trying my best and trying to do good. I have no malintent. Yeah. I'll see you guys. Oh my god, embarrassing. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.